The average person doesn't know much about what happens behind the scenes when they browse the internet on their phone or computer. But as an aspiring developer, you are aware of how the content on screen is controlled by HTML and CSS. And by now you know that HTML is a markup language used to create web pages. In fact, it's the most basic and fundamental language for creating web pages. And together with CSS, it has helped the web browser expand beyond just desktop computers. HTML has been around since 1990, and it was originally designed to provide a way for people to share information over the internet. HTML web pages used to only show basic images and text. The websites you browse today are very different. This is because HTML can do much more than just defining how content is displayed in the browser. HTML is great, but together with CSS, it can do so much more. CSS is a style sheet language that is used to describe the look and layout of a document written in HTML. While CSS is not a programming language, it does allow for some programming-like features such as variables and nested rules. And what it does is give you control over color, size, spacing, fonts, positioning, and more. One of the fundamental principles of CSS is the separation of content and style. That means you can change a web page's appearance without editing its underlying HTML. W3C, the organization responsible for standards for the World Wide Web, manages both HTML and CSS specifications. They continually improve their capabilities to ensure that they are always oriented towards current requirements. Many new features were added to the current version of HTML that make it easier to use than previous versions. These are better support for multimedia content, such as audio and video, improved support for responsive design, such as adapting the web page layout depending on the device the web page is viewed on, new form input types such as sliders and range inputs, date and color pickers, new form validation features, and new ways to work with text, such as spell checking and text editing. Some major additions released for CSS in 2011 ensure that CSS can style and control a website regardless of the media content or the device used for viewing the page. The additions to the current version are media queries, which allow for different styles to be applied depending on the device being used, box sizing, which allows developers to specify how they want their content to be sized and padded, multiple backgrounds, which mean you can specify multiple background images for an element, border images, which allow developers to specify an image as a border instead of a solid color or style. Text shadows, which mean you can add shadows behind text for a more three-dimensional look. And transformations and transitions, which allow developers to animate elements on a web page. In essence, the combination of HTML and CSS allows websites to adapt their design and layout based on the devices on which they're viewed. While this feature was initially used to support mobile devices like cell phones and tablets, the usage of HTML and CSS has grown beyond the traditional web browser and web pages. Today, web pages can be viewed not only on computers, cell phones, and tablets, but also on video game consoles and even smart TVs. The web browser has truly expanded beyond traditional desktop devices, and it's all thanks to the combination of HTML and CSS.